This is my 9th year of doing this, which is amazing. I just want to thank all the sponsors and people that are here, and especially my team at work. And of course, this is not, this is good for the compliance and non-disclosure things, this is not a Morgan Stanley event. This is my event. Everything that I say is my opinion and not theirs. So I just did my disclosure for them. So the sponsors are here, are incredible. You have a list of them in your packet. I'm not going to run through everything, but certainly, there's other people here that support me in many, many ways, including Ashley and Tricia, who are back there, and my son Roger, who's back there, Maria, who did the beautiful flowers, Ari and Krista, they're doing the video stuff, and all the ladies, Erin, Katie, Christo, Lizzie, that have come and helped, film and video this thing. This event was really something, I call it, it's a volunteer job that I don't get paid for, which is fine, because my whole life has really been about empowering women and educating them. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff that I talk about in a few minutes that's going to sound a little scary, because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about technology and what's coming. And I always want people to be prepared for that. The color orange that you see in this room, there is an importance connected to it. It's a color that stands for joy, warmth, enthusiasm, creativity, encouragement, change, happiness, balance, sexuality, and freedom. Now, if you think about the Buddhist robes, they wear orange, which is also known as the flame of fire. It's a symbol of truth and journeys and enlightenment. So when I get sort of, and the other thing that it's empowered and reminded me of was my adoring mother, Cynthia, because she loved orange. And she passed August 1st. So I'm going to take a minute before I start crying to think of her and people that have had huge impressions in your life, that make life colorful and meaningful. The theme is actualization. According to Fred Stearns, the definition is to realize in action by you taking the time of being here and being present. It's to nurture, renew your spirit through opportunities. So I hope today is a day of opportunities, that you get to get out of your comfort zone, that you meet new people, that you do different tracks, because technology, your health, and your finances are the 3 prongs that hold you up in life, and you need all 3 of them to make sure that things are all functioning well. And I also want to take a moment just to take a deep breath. I appreciate everybody getting here. It's, in the city, there's traffic, there's fires, there's been all sorts of calamities. And the fact that you've honored me by being here today means a lot. So I want everybody to take a deep breath. And also in that deep breath, I was at a thing with Janie this weekend called Reimagine, and we did sound healing at the temple, which was really powerful. And one of the things that we've discovered in all these things that we do is basically being able to embrace change and personal growth has a lot to do with taking the time to be quiet. So I want everybody to, this is going to sound a little funky, close your eyes and say a prayer for yourself, because we don't say that enough to ourselves. We think about other people all the time because we're women. And I just want you to think about yourself, and with intent, because social engagement and prayer are linked to cognitive health. And think about some transformation of happiness in life and energy for yourself today, because that's what I want to achieve for you and for yourself. So just take a minute to breathe. Bo Bennett, who's an author, says that those who improve with age embrace the power of personal growth and personal achievement and begin to replace youth and wisdom, innocence with understanding, and lack of purpose with self-actualization. Now I'm going to go a little faster and a little esoteric for you. So the technological changes that we're going through right now, I believe, is what's causing the rifts that we're seeing socially, emotionally, and economically. We haven't seen anything like this since the Industrial Revolution. The capacity and the speed of what is happening with change, particularly connected technologies, is uprooting what mankind has been used to. The most important discovery happened on October 24th, 2019. Does anybody know what it was? Okay. What happened was Google, this is as important as Kitty Hawk, it's as important as man landing on the moon. And there was a breakthrough with Google. They cracked the code of quantum computing. They achieved what they call quantum supremacy. Now, I've talked about this off and on for years, and nobody really understands it, and even the lay people don't understand it particularly. But basically what happens is these quantum computers perform tasks that a classic computer cannot do in a reasonable amount of time. Google's quantum computer solved a problem in 200 seconds. That would take the world's fastest supercomputer 10,000 years. So just try to get your mind wrapped around that for 1 second. Everything that we know right now is changing so rapidly, it's going to knock the tires off every single car out there and everything else. This new frontier will change absolutely everything. The near-term applications for quantum computing are endless. Cryptography, machine learning, chemistry, new medical, everything. Optimization, new forms of communication, new materials, new forms of AI, and it's going to transfer our lives in so many different ways. And we have to be able to accept this, embrace it, and go with the flow, which is kind of scary. People don't like change. And if you'd really like to learn more about it, there's a great TED Talk by Sean Carroll. Talks at Google happen quite frequently. They're free, they're up online. You should go and look at them every couple of weeks. His talk on something deeply hidden will explain to you in a pretty intense way what quantum physics is. I'm not going to spend the time doing that because I'd probably goof it up anyway. I've had past speakers here in the past. One of them, it was Erica Orange. Some of you met her. She's part of this group of people called the Future Hunters. They speak to Fortune 500 companies, and they talk about what's coming. And we've had her here twice speaking. And I had the pleasure of going to her board meeting in late August and getting her white papers on what she sees in the future. And these are new developments, new products, new ideas, and trends. And I think there were 400 examples. So I've picked a few that I'll share with you when I get into this a little bit more. What she's calling this change is templosion, meaning that time is speeding up exponentially. We're seeing things happen faster and faster, and our personal reality is now changing. Is it what we're doing in this room right now? Is it virtual reality? Or is it digital reality like Instagram? We can have many personas. You know, you go back to Farmville. You can spend all your time on gamification and not even be in this particular world. We're seeing things that personal reality is absolutely changing. And it's time on steroids. The future is made up of multiple realities. There's a term that the Future Hunters used with this templosion, and it is really about technology and the rapidity of change and connectivity that's changing. And it's changing our brains. And what it's doing is, MIT is doing this. A lot of the medical professions are watching children, and you look at some of these children that are 4 years old, their actual brain shape and integration is quite different than ours. And they're studying this to try to understand what does that mean for human beings, right? Of course, when we talk with MIT, we can ask questions about that. And what they're calling these humans that are evolving as cyber hybrids. This rate of change calls into question what is real. The time and space in this room, like I said, is a question. We could put on a VR headset and end up in Tibet, and I'll have that experience together. And there still is a world that we create different personas, an Instagram, a digital platform. You can have a holographic research being. They're working on that right now, where you have a virtual twin that exists in another third dimension. And what all boils down to is that changing time and reality is, what is the role of human beings? And what does the future look like? If AI is used with robotics and human-based labor will be augmented by machines and cognitive labor, rote memorization will become passé because the computer can do it. Or maybe you're going to have a chip attached to your wrist or your brain. So machine and cognitive labor are changing. And what is the role of companies and chips and this cognitive labor that's coming? Computers have learned to develop intelligence, but they have not surpassed us yet in critical thinking. These multi-dimensions that I'm talking about can be manipulated, they create new developments, and they will change our roles. These topics help move us into the future, and they're happening now with quantum, VR, augmented intelligence, 3D and 4D printing, the rise of neural technologies, deep learning, wearable technologies, edible technologies, and injectable technologies. We are on the precipice of who and what we want to become as a species. You realize that everyone and everything are connected in a bigger way, and it's all about time, and it's all about energy. And for us to survive in this room, I don't care what age you are, you're going to have to be lifelong learners. And that's one of the reasons I do this, is to make sure that people continue to think about stuff, because we're all going to live longer. And women are going to live at least 8 years longer than their spouses. So you have to be prepared in order to live well, die well, and exist well. Time is our fourth dimension. My husband, Michael, has told me for years that time is your only currency. Spend it well. Be with the people you love and the friends and family, and give your life meaning and love. Be open to change. Embrace it. David Bowie has a song which I was going to play, but we didn't quite get that together. But if you all remember it, it was called Changing. Time may change you, but you can't change time. I'm going to share with you a couple of things, because I've got a little bit of time now, literally, to talk about one of the 400 examples of what's changing right now. It was hard to narrow it down. Here's one on the medical front, because this is optimistic. I can show you some really dark stuff too. I may do that. New ways to use AI, artificial intelligence, behind deep fakes could improve cancer diagnosis. The ability of generative adversarial networks, known as GANs, G-A-N-S, the algorithms responsible for what they call deep fakes, to synthesize highly realistic images could have important benefits for medical diagnosis. Deep learning algorithms are excellent at pattern matching in images and can be trained to detect different types of cancer in a CT scan, differentiating diseases in MRIs, and identify abnormalities in an X-ray. But because of privacy concerns, researchers often don't have enough training data. This is where the GANs come in. They can synthesize more medical images that are indistinguishable from real ones, effectively multiplying a data set into necessary quantity. Deep learning algorithms, however, need to train on high-resolution images to produce the best predictions. Yet synthesizing such high-res images, especially in 3D, takes a lot of computational power, and this is where this quantum comes in. It means it requires special and expensive hardware, which is going to be cheaper in due time and impractical, but hospitals will have them. So anyway, the Institute of Medical Informatics at the University of Lübeck proposed a new approach to make the process much less intensive. They broke it up into stages. GANs first generates the whole image in low res, then generates the details at the right resolution, one small section at a time. Through experiments, the researchers showed not only that the method generated realistic, high-resolution 2D and 3D images, but with the computational math, they were able to figure out exactly where the cancer was. That's a huge breakthrough. How much time do we have left? Okay, I'll give you a couple of other ones. This is one too scary. Sex selection. I should ask you which ones you want to hear. More couples stay together because they live apart. Members of Gen Z. Members of Gen Z are putting Bitmojis on their resumes. Let's see. Here, this one's good. I like this because this is happening in gamification. In a strange twist, this AI tries to teach empathy to humans. So they're finding that empathy is decreasing with the Gen X, and some of the digital children are also having problems. Humana Pharmacy has deployed an AI system in its call centers that gives the human employees speaking on the phone gentle nudges to be friendlier and more empathetic with customers. The algorithm built by the AI development from Cogito reminds people when they have stayed silent for too long or start speaking too quickly. Given that it's usually human engineers who try to program something resembling emotion into lifeless machines, the role reversal is an unusual twist. None of this is to say that AI has reached a point where it comprehends emotions at a human level or that it feels anything on its own. Rather, the algorithm looks for patterns of behavior, a raised voice, a quickened rate of speech, a long silence that could signal a lack of empathy or be tied to customer frustration. Joshua Feast, CEO of Cogito, says that he sees the system as more of a coach than a replacement for human employees. I'm going to throw this one out quickly about jobs because we always worry about what's going to happen to our children in the future. We spent an hour talking on this topic when we were in New York, and it was pretty concerning. I think, as we start to see replacement of blue-collar workers, which have certainly happened, now we're getting into the next level, which is the white-collar workers that are going to change. But new workers of the world, this is from Bloomberg. The pressure of globalization and automation have left many manual and service workers struggling to secure safe, supportive conditions and feel their work has lasting value. Often we hear about the change in terms of the looming subtraction of jobs in the workforce. Communities have left struggling by technological transformations or offshore jobs. Harder is to get a sense of how change affects individuals themselves. A year-long study across the continents revealed stories of working-class people from the millennial generation, particularly those in occupations that don't exist a generation ago. The authors brought local journalists and sought interviewees. That's right, turn off your phone, you guys. Stories reflect common experiences in this great convulsion. Decent jobs are flowing to big cities. That's why we've got this city revolution that's happening not just in San Francisco, they're becoming mega cities. With millions of workers leaving their ancestral towns in anxious pursuit. The internet is exposing people not only to opportunities that were once out of reach, but also to the unsettling knowledge that other people have many more. Below are some jobs taken by millennials around the globe. Jackie gets a demerit. Okay, so see, these are some examples of jobs around the globe. 29-year-old man becomes a sidewalk vendor in Barcelona, Spain. A 25-year-old woman is a seamstress in Yangon, Myanmar. 35-year-old man is an abalone poacher in Cape Town, South Africa. 37-year-old woman became a marijuana grower in Rawingi, Colombia. 28-year-old woman is a caregiver in Kyoto, Japan. 29-year-old man is a computer reseller in Ghana. 24-year-old woman is an electronics maker in Ho Chi Minh City. And it goes on and on. So people are going to, something like change, the millennials and the next generation are going to be changing their jobs like you change underwear. I mean, you have got to be able to be a critical thinker. You have to be facile. The traditional roles that we had and the jobs that we had and the companies we work for are not going to be there. There's something like 40% of the S&P 500 companies will be no longer in existence 30 years from now because they cannot adapt quick enough to the change that's coming. So it behooves everybody in this room not only to continue to listen, learn, and take classes, whether it's on Coursera or whatever, but to be somebody that's adaptive. That's how your family's going to stay intact, and that's how your children are going to learn. So on that note, I'm actually going to, I guess I'm closing up here. Just as a reminder, I want to thank you to the sponsors one more time, BlackRock for the notebook, CBRE, Clarion, Conde's Wine, Deborah Webb Lifestyle Federated Investments, Hartford for the great books in your goodie bag that you're about to look at, JP Morgan, LaSalle for the amazing Echo Dots that are in your bag, Manjusa Singh for the jewelry, Nama Fiji Pioneer, Trina Dried Foods, and Voya for the glasses and water bottles. Reminder of the rooms. Okay, the green finance room is to the left and up the stairs, that way and up. The pink room, what's known as the health pink room, is past the registry right here to the right, and the innovation tech blue room is up the stairs. You go all the way down up the stairs and to the left. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them, and that's John F. Kennedy. So thank you all for being here. I hope I didn't talk you into boredom, and we're going to go with the next presentation. Be right with you. Thank you.